Losing someone you love is an incredibly difficult experience, and everything that comes after, all the responsibilities, it can just feel like way too much. So think of this as a clear, study map for a journey that can feel, well, pretty overwhelming, planning a Ghanaian funeral.
And let's just start right there. If you're feeling completely lost or overwhelmed, that's totally normal. This quote really hits the nail on the head. It's one of the hardest things a family can go through. It's a heavy, heavy task for sure. But you don't have to figure it all out on your own. Because that's exactly what a good plan does, right? It just cuts right through the chaos. And believe it or not, there is a clear, step-by-step path here. So let's walk through it together and see how you can create a truly dignified and honorable farewell.
All right, so let's dive into those first critical steps. I'm talking about the first few days. This is all about laying a really solid foundation with some immediate actions you just can't skip.
So it really breaks down into 4 key things. First, you've got to handle the legal necessities. Getting that death certificate is the key that unlocks pretty much everything else. Then you arrange for mortuary care, which gives the family some breathing room. At the same time, you're tapping into the cultural foundation, right? You're letting the elders know and appointing a chief mourner. And finally, you have to check for a will to honor any final wishes. Each one of these steps helps you build back a sense of control during a super emotional time.
Okay, so once you've got those legal and family structures in place, you've built a solid base to work from. And from here, you can start to move forward and get ready for that next major milestone, which is the first time the wider community is going to come together.
And that brings us right to the 1-week observance. Now, this is a really pivotal moment in Ghanaian tradition. This is where private grief starts to meet public support, and honestly, it's where the formal planning really kicks into high gear.
So what is it exactly? Well, it's a gathering that's held 7 days after the passing, and it kind of has a threefold purpose. First, to comfort the immediate family. Second, to formally let the entire community know about the loss. And third, and this is super important, to organize the plan for the main funeral.
And this is the moment you realize the 1 week isn't just for mourning. No way. It's a critical planning meeting. I mean, look at what gets decided here. You're talking about a provisional date, who's on the planning committee, the general direction of the budget, and which key vendors you need to start calling. This is where the ideas start turning into a real, actual plan.
So, with those big decisions locked in, we can move into planning the main event itself. This is the phase where all those decisions from the 1 week get turned into a detailed, step-by-step action plan. Now, the whole planning process, I know, it can feel like a mountain to climb, right? But look at how this timeline just breaks it all down. About a month out, you're locking in the big stuff, the date and the budget. Then, with 2 to 4 weeks to go, it's all about booking your vendors and getting the word out. The last 10 days or so, that's for the small details, confirming numbers, getting things printed. And then those final 72 hours are really just for final checks and packing. See, it's so much more manageable when you look at it like that.
And the most crucial thing here is getting those priority bookings done early. You want to lock down the absolute essentials first. We're talking the coffin, shelter like tents and chairs, catering, and printing. And notice how media is on there. Live streaming is so important these days for loved ones who just can't travel. Nailing these down way ahead of time is the absolute key to avoiding that last-minute stress.
Okay, so we've done all the planning. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the funeral weekend itself, because a Ghanaian funeral typically isn't a one-day thing. All that careful planning leads up to a 3-day sequence of events that unfolds over a weekend. It all kicks off on Friday with the wake-keeping. This is an evening of vigil, a time for the community to gather with the family for prayer, for hymns, and for just being there for each other. It really sets this solemn, reflective tone for everything that's about to follow.
Saturday. Well, Saturday is the heart of the whole weekend. It starts with the solemnity of the church service, then it flows into the procession and that final, emotional committal at the graveside. And afterwards, it transitions to a reception where the whole community can gather to share their condolences and support the family. And then you get to Sunday, and you see this really powerful shift in tone. The Thanksgiving service is all about gratitude. And you often see families wearing white, which is just, it's such a beautiful symbol, isn't it? It's not about mourning anymore, but about hope, about resurrection, and being thankful for the life that was lived. But listen, the responsibilities don't just stop on Sunday. This final phase is all about closing the circle. It's about completing those last administrative and cultural steps that bring the entire process to a really dignified and honorable conclusion.
So you've kind of got 2 sets of final steps here. In the short term, right after the funeral, the focus is on the practical stuff, being transparent with the finances, sending out thank yous, and making sure there's grief support.
But then, you're also looking ahead to the one-year memorial, which is a huge cultural milestone. It formally marks the end of the mourning period, and it's often when the tombstone is unveiled.
So, you see, these final acts are deeply meaningful. They're about accountability to the community that showed up and supported the family. They're about expressing genuine gratitude for that support. And they're about completing that cycle of mourning in a way that truly honors both the person you've lost and the traditions that hold everyone together.
Because in the end, after all the logistics, all the planning, and all the traditions, it really comes back to this one fundamental question. With all the steps and checklists we've talked about, what's the real point? The point is to create a clear space, to clear away all the chaos and the stress so that the focus can stay right where it belongs, on celebrating and truly honoring the unique, incredible life of the person you love and have lost.